This video is going to cover part 2 of our lesson 1.1 on points, lines, and planes. Okay, so last time we looked at what points, lines, and planes are, how you would name them, and how you pronounce that. There's also different parts of lines. For example, a segment is just a shorter portion of the line. It doesn't go on forever. It starts and it stops. So here's a good example of a segment. You start at A and you go towards B and you stop at B. You could also go from B to A, but it contains all of those points that are in between A and B. So there are also infinitely many points on segment AB. Could also call it segment BA. And the shorthand looks like an A with a B next to it, and then you have a little segment above it, no arrowheads. The other portion of a line is called a ray. A ray is basically like half of a line, and I use that term loosely because lines don't have lengths, so you can't split them in half. But basically it starts at a point and it goes forever in another direction. It could go left, right, up, down, anywhere in between. This example, the first example of a ray that you see, starts at A and goes towards B forever. That would be named ray AB. Second, and then you point the A. That's different than ray BA. That's the example that's below. You start at B and you go towards A forever. So when you name a ray, the starting point is the letter that you have to have first. This is where it gets a little confusing because rays, the order that you put the letters is important. The order that you put the letters for segments and lines and planes, not important. You can pick whatever order you want. But if you switch the order with a ray, you're probably talking about a different ray altogether. Since you know what a ray is, we're going to talk now about what opposite rays are. For opposite rays, you have to have two rays. They have to be part of the same line, and they have to share the same endpoint. So here's an example of a yellow ray and a red ray. They both have the same endpoint, point B. The yellow ray is named ray BA. The red ray is named ray BC. They have that same endpoint. And notice how they also make a line. Points A, B, and C are all on the same line. It's straight. It goes on forever in opposite directions. Now that you know what opposite rays are, we can look at some examples where maybe you don't have opposite rays. So if you look at number 1, we're looking at ray LM and ray NL. They're definitely two rays. They definitely make a line. But do they share the same endpoint? Remember, the endpoints would be the first letter when you look at the names, and those letters are different. So really what's happening is if you would draw those two rays, they overlap each other. Your opposite rays only touch that common endpoint. They don't have any other points in common. So for number 1, they're not opposite rays because they don't have the same endpoint. Look at number 2, ray FG and ray FE. These ones definitely do have the same endpoint. F is the first letter in both of those names. Ray FG goes to the right. Ray FE goes to the left. Are those points on the same line? Do those rays make a line? They do. That's an example of what opposite rays are. Okay, so number one, they were not opposite rays because they didn't have the same endpoint. Number two, they are opposite rays. They have the same endpoint, they make a line. Number three, they're not opposite rays. I hope you can see this pretty clearly on here. These two rays have the same endpoint, but they don't make a line. That's the difference. Okay, so that's what we're looking at in this second part of these notes. We looked at segments, we looked at rays, and we looked at opposite rays. If you're stuck with any of this, or if you have any questions, as always, you feel free to contact me through Teams. Okay, we'll do some practice after this. Thank you. Bye.